Ubisoft had the easiest win in gaming. It found Black Flag, dragged it into a conference room, and let a circle of spreadsheet necromancers hiss over it, until it lurched upright with a new subtitle, and the vibe of a cursed software patch. That is the problem. Black Flag was the one Assassin's Creed game even people who roll their eyes at Assassin's Creed admitted was great. A return should have come back like a king. Sharper visuals, tighter combat, cleaner stealth, wilder storms, stronger faces, better water. Everything age had chipped and dulled. Then, Resynced appeared on the horizon, like a plague ship full of consultants, and now the whole thing smells less like a remake, and more like a pirate game that got recruited by LinkedIn, after a bad breakup with fun. Resynced does not relax anyone. This word does not trigger thoughts of a respectful restoration of a beloved classic. Instead, the mind jumps straight to always online. Next comes launcher sludge. After that arrives account linking. Behind it slides hub integration. Soon timed events show up. Later premium currency drifts into view. Inside the pause menu a store button crouches like a rat with a business degree. On top of that, an executive with the charisma of wet drywall appears saying, "We're building a connected pirate ecosystem," right before the Caribbean fills with battle passes and 3 currencies named after emotions. The company approaches great games like a landlord who buys a cathedral and asks where the vape lounge goes. Preservation never arrives. Improvement never stays focused. Leaving what worked alone never happens. The soul gets remodeled out, then the company stands there in expensive shoes, acting baffled when people start shouting. Black Flag mattered because it felt free. Not open world product suit free. Real free, ship in the water. Wind in your face. Cannons loaded, crew half drunk, music loud. Trouble everywhere. Roaming worked, hunting worked, boarding ships worked, diving for treasure worked. Starting fights you had no business starting worked. Running from storms worked. Chasing greed worked, then regretting it later worked. Stupidity landed in the right ways. Mess arrived in the right ways. Rhythm held, swagger held. Something modern publishers treat like a clerical error lived inside it, a complete fantasy that did not need a 10-year support roadmap to feel alive. Modern management does not trust complete things. Endings scare it. Satisfaction scares it. A customer who finishes the story, smiles, only installs, and walks outside like a free citizen scares it most. The management class hates free citizens. Tenants are preferred. Habit is favored. Recurring presence is preferred. Attention gets lashed to a mast while some product lead counts the minutes and calls it community. So, when people hear Resynced, overreaction is not the right word. Translation is. Resynced means the game probably wants something from you, besides your money and your time. A digital ankle monitor starts to feel implied. The Caribbean starts to feel annexed by the church of ongoing monetization. Cannons may still exist, but somewhere behind the curtain, a systems designer whispers about retention curves and seasonal value delivery like a war criminal reading bedtime stories. Black Flag sounds like danger. Smoke, greed, mutiny, and murder with sea spray on top. Resynced lands like Edward forgot his password. A Bluetooth problem seems implied. A pirate sent to HR for a firmware update comes to mind. Terms of service begin to cling to the ocean. Ubisoft picked the worst moment to make this weird. A real win was needed, the kind where the trailer drops, people go quiet, and engagement metrics get booed out of the room. It was the emergency bottle behind glass. Break in case of public exhaustion. Release pirate nostalgia. Restore faith. Let the waves do the work. Instead, Ubisoft stamped Resynced on the bottle, and now everybody thinks the rum has been replaced with probiotic water, a login queue, and a monthly fee. The people who keep causing this are easy to spot. Management sits at the center of it. Those damp little apostles of optimization keep preaching. Language gets ruined first. A shop becomes an ecosystem. Dependency becomes connection. Bloat becomes support. Chores become content. Distrust becomes innovation. After that, the game fills with tabs, timers, rotating garbage, and enough soft coercion to make a casino blush. Worlds are not being built. Supervised habitats are designed for your attention. Black Flag never needed supervision. That was the point. Dangerous worked. Personal worked. Trust existed, letting you find your own fun inside a strong fantasy. Too many modern games replace that trust with telemetry. The questions change. Excitement stops being the focus, while stickiness becomes the metric. Memory stops being the goal, while weekly active users become the scoreboard. Story stops being the anchor, while re-engagement becomes the opportunity. That is how you know the building is haunted. The furniture starts talking like a consultant. The first lie is the efficiency fallacy. Centralizing everything it claims makes everything better. Here comes one hub. Alongside that sits an account layer. On top of it rests a profile. Beneath it lies a progression skeleton. Over everything hangs a giant bucket, every game lowered into it like a hostage. On paper, it sounds efficient. But efficiency for the company is not quality for the player. Usually, it means the opposite. The more a game is built to serve some central machine, the less freedom it has to be itself. A pirate game should answer to the fantasy. That is the whole job. Let the sea sing. Give the ship weight. Keep combat dirty. Smooth movement matters. Storms should stay frightening. Edward should be human enough to matter, and reckless enough to entertain. That should be the full brief. The moment the brief becomes, also ensure compatibility with the wider franchise environment, Rot enters through the floorboards, wearing a lanyard. From there, the game has to support the hub, leave room for future nonsense, and keep a seat warm for whatever cursed idea arrives next fiscal year. And once a game is under house arrest, everything bends. Menus get built for visibility, not elegance. Progression gets stretched for longevity, not satisfaction. Rewards get layered for recurrence, not meaning. Interfaces start surfacing features nobody asked for, because the machine needs them seen. The game stops being a world, and becomes a kiosk with sword physics. Not all at once. At least that would be honest. The shift arrives one harmless layer at a time. First comes a feature. Next arrives a tab. Then shows up a cute little system. Eventually, the pirate adventure looks like it needs a customer service hotline, two-factor authentication, and a consent form. The second lie is infinite content. This is sold like generosity. So much stuff. A whole lot of game. One long roadmap. But content is not value just because it exists. A landfill is not a feast because it is large. Volume is not meaning. Repetition is not depth. 1,000 icons on a map do not create wonder. They create chores with better scenery. That is the trap. As content becomes infinite, any single part of it matters less. When everything is designed to continue forever, nothing is allowed to land. Endings get weaker because endings break loops. Pacing gets softer because the game is afraid to close its hand around a moment. Systems grow broad and reusable because future updates must be fed. Missions get thinner because quantity needs cheap material. Activity arrives without consequence. Motion arrives without shape. Tasks arrive without memory. Management loves that because the player stays busy. But busy is not the same as moved, and being moved is what people remember. Black Flag worked because it had shape, it had an arc. Edward Kenway was not just a pirate skin with upgrade slots. He was vain, greedy, charming, selfish, broken, and forced by loss to become more than his appetites. The sea mattered because his journey through it mattered. The fantasy mattered because it was tied to a man, not just a reward loop. You can improve that. You can modernize that. You can rebuild it with better tech. But once the redesign exists to feed an infinite machine, restoration dies, and taxidermy begins. Players do not owe blind trust to a company that keeps acting like every beloved memory is a strip mine with good branding. Ambiguity is not your friend when the reputation smells like focus, tested compromise. That is why the practical questions matter more than the logo. Standalone or tethered, offline play or leashed, store presence or none, timed events or absent, premium currency or nothing, shared progression with some larger system, or a sealed box. A hub hanging over it like a landlord with a clipboard or a clean horizon. Those answers tell you whether Black Flag is coming back as a game, or as a product environment wearing pirate textures, like stolen skin. Players are not hard to please. They are easy to please when affection is not treated like recurring revenue. Make Black Flag look stunning. Improve the weak mechanics. Maintain the tone. Protect the soul. Let the sea stay loud, and the menace stay quiet. A blinking shop icon in the corner should never appear. Any countdown timer near Havana should never appear. An evolving ecosystem pitch should never appear, unless laughter from millions is the goal. Just make the game good, then leave. Build a thing people love. Sell it once. Resist the demonic urge to hang a rotating event tab off the side, like an infected organ. If Ubisoft can do that, the win is enormous. People want that win. They are desperate for it. They want to believe the company still knows how to touch a classic, without trying to invoice the afterlife. But if the reveal comes, and the UI looks like a stock exchange for sea criminals, the run is over. A store button breathing in the corner ends it. Daily tasks end it. A campaign built to funnel you toward future engagement ends it. Edward Kenway returning as a mascot for platform strategy, instead of a man with blood in his lungs, ends it. This is not just players whining about a subtitle. This is about whether finished, human-shaped works are still allowed to exist. In an industry that keeps treating every world like a machine port. Deliberate design matters. Endings matter. Respect for time matters, more than farming it. Art answering to vision matters, more than systems built by men who should never be allowed near the phrase what players really want. So, when Black Flag Resynced finally shows itself, do not just stare at the water and clap because the reflections are expensive. Pretty waves are easy. Integrity is hard. A better approach is simple. Start with standalone status. Move to offline play. Continue with shape and fidelity to the original. Decide whether this is a remake made by people who loved Black Flag, or a salvage operation run by people who loved its market recognition. Then look at Edward. Decide whether a person returned, or a branded resource in a trench coat. And if the answer reeks of algorithmic rot in a pirate hat, say so. Black Flag should come back as a storm, not a subscription surface. The Jackdaw should be a ship, not a storefront. The Caribbean should be a world, not a dashboard. And the sea does not need to be sins to anything, except wind, hunger, bad decisions, and that old simple dream that a game can still be complete, alive, and gloriously uninterested in asking for one more thing. If you want, the edge can still sharpen, and the polish can still rise, while the length target stays the same.